LeBron was one of his most efficient first half. You see this 7 for 10, and Tatum was on fire.
Well, Tatum, 21 points we're seeing there, but 14 of those, they came in the first quarter, and they were the Celtics' first 14 points as a team. So he was really sizzling early, but then the third quarter happened for the Lakers.
And this has not typically been their best third quarter, but they came out. I think now that they've got a little bit more healthy, Bron is playing in some games, and look at this, 80 years old, and this man can still get up.
80? Really?
Oh, okay,
that must
75.
Mean you're 102,
75,
right?
but look at this. There was a time where, you know, head was by the rim, now it's just his arm.
I don't know. He was getting up from dropping it low afterward to celebrate. But a difference maker in the game, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
his aggressiveness. And then he's rocking the baby?
He's rocking the baby. He's feeling himself, but that's what he should. Look, sometimes it can take veterans a little bit of time to get going, especially when you got bounce like that. Look at this. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and look at what the big three combined for. 42 points.
They were cooking, but look, at the end of the day, this was about the Lakers getting out in transition. And look, when some people are feeling good, everybody's feeling good.
Look at
Give him a little windmill.
Well, the Lakers, they did for the majority of the night after the first half, made it look easy. Here's LeBron James after the game.
I just like the way we competed tonight on both sides of the floor. A lot of intensity, a lot of ball movement. Guys were attacking the rim, very efficient. Tonight was as close to 48 minutes. It's one of the best games of the season as far as the way we just played the game.
Russ, was this kind of the blueprint for how you, LeBron, and AD can all kind of have your moments?
We have a unique team, as you guys know, and we have guys that can take over a game at any point. Tonight was a way they're kind of all laid out, and it worked for us tonight, but we don't know. I don't know the blueprint. All I know is that we won, so if that's the blueprint, then hell yeah, winning is the blueprint.
Winning is the blueprint. Is that going to be your next tattoo, Richard?
100%.
We know you have some bad ones. All right, the Lakers' big three, they combined for 71 points last night. That's the 5th most points they've scored in a game this season. They had a net rating of plus 22.7. That's when all 3 of those folks shared the court last night, right? So I was at the game last night, and what jumped out to me was how aggressive Russell Westbrook was when he wasn't turning over the ball, an absurd amount at least, right? He had 11 assists, 4 turnovers, and I asked Anthony Davis about this exact thing post-game.
I think in the beginning of the year, Russ was a little bit passive. You know, he was trying to get guys involved, pass the ball. You know, he'd be at the rim, and, you know, he had one tonight. We tried to kick out to Melo, you know, where he could have laid the ball up, and we're just trying to tell him, be himself. Like, don't try to be anybody else. You know, as of late, last, 7 to 10 games, he's been very, very aggressive. And when he do that, it opens up the floor for everyone else. Before every game, I tell him to be yourself. So that's why we brought him here, to be Russell Westbrook and not, anybody else but that.
Okay, so Russell Westbrook had a big night, but it was really the time that we heard LeBron James say this was maybe the best game that they felt that they had played as a group. What say you, Richard?
What say I?
Oh, she did what she said. You said, call me Richard.
She called me Richard. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I can accept feedback and
yeah, you know what? It's still a thing I'm working on. Look, I agree, and it's been tough because there's been conversations about Frank Vogel, and there's been Anthony Davis needs to step up. All of these things, really come down to if the Lakers are healthy, then you can judge them. If they're not healthy, then you're kind of judging a team that had championship aspirations based off of a small amount of sample size, and I just think that that's tough.
Exactly what Jeannie Buss said, earlier yesterday post game. But it's really interesting because the question is this their best game as a big three, right, Malika? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. If you look by, the performance, they had a convincing win, check. But then you look by the numbers, LeBron James, 30 points on 65% shooting from the field. AD, who a lot of people have been critical about, what did he do?
Why you point to me?
I'm just saying in general.
But I have been. I just didn't know why you pointed.
Don't act like you don't know why
17 and 16. And then Russ, 24 and 11. That's exactly what you need from the big three. So, yes, this is the start. Granted health, that's the #1 contingency, but this is probably the best performance by them.
Well, and it seemed to me that playing Anthony Davis at center, right, where he spent the majority of his minutes last night, we saw him be successful doing that. I know it's not what he necessarily loves to do all the time, but that might be.
Look, well, I get it. I get it. You don't want to do it. You know why? Because it's harder. It's harder to play. No, it is.
No, you're right.
No, it is harder. It's like, oh, I got to do this.
But
I got to do that.
Okay, let's dive into this, Richard. Why? Why is it harder for AD?
It's harder because he's going to have to go against bigger, more physical players.
And why is that a problem for AD?
Because physical of players. He is highly skilled for a person of his size.
An injury history where he has to be a little conservative. But go ahead.
I know, but 100% I agree with you. And that's the thing. If you want to get where you want to go, sometimes you have to do things you haven't done. And that was one of the things when they won the championship. Yes, Dwight Howard, yes, different guys were integral parts, but he was playing more and more of the five. And so I just personally feel that, hey, if this is what's going to get you guys out of this slump and this is what's going to get you guys rolling a little bit, then you're going to have to suck it up and play five, and you should be the first person standing up there and saying, this is what we should do.
Well, it worked for them last night, but the other thing that was working for them was Russ. We've spent some time talking about how aggressive he was, but Sinead, what exactly did that look like?
Oh, it was amazing, especially in that third quarter, because the Lakers have had struggles, you know, coming out after half. When you're an older team, it's like, all right, a second game. Here we go, Rich. Let's break it down, all right? Are you
I'm coming with you. Let's go.
I don't know why she wants to come with her, but
one thing about Russell Westbrook is that this is what is it? Be aggressive.
Be aggressive.
Oh, you know cheer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Give me my tape. Let's break it down. Russ was aggressive, especially in the third quarter. Now, this is what happens. A lot of people are going to dare him to shoot. He's a 31% three-point shooter. Again, you get the opportunity, teammates believe in you. But the reality is, this is what the shot that the defense is always going to give you. This was early in the first half. Now he took the feedback. And one thing about Russ, he's not going to get deterred. Now come second half, the same amount of space. This time he's like, you know what? I'm getting exactly where I need to go, and that's the paint. You're on your heels, crossed over. We saw this beautiful Euro step. And what happens when you're a smaller Dennis Schroeder? Rock the baby.
Well, and he's going to get one-on-one situations in these moments, right? So now you get the AD pick and roll.
One-on-one and two-on-two. The AD pick and roll forces Robert Williams III to sort of have to not help as much as he wanted to, and
that's what you get. And mainly the reason why you get this is because you don't want him to be able to distribute to everybody. So you say, Russ, let him go. So that just means Russ has to win that one-on-one battle when he gets into the paint.
Precisely 6 for 8 from the field in the third quarter. That's the Russell Westbrook insurance policy that Lakers fans should be happy about. We should not be so critical of the Lakers because finally they're starting to get healthy and it's only a quarter of the season. Maybe halfway through, that's when you don't panic. You start panicking. You know what I mean?
You don't panic yet, right?
Okay.
Russ he's stepped it up lately, right? Because over the last 8 games, he's averaging over 23 points on 50% shooting and 36% from deep. But the biggest difference is that he's taking care of the ball. He's averaging just 3.5 turnovers per game compared to 5 in the first 17, right? But you know where the eyes of the NBA they're going to be tonight? They're going to be focused on San Francisco because when Steph Curry takes aim at the three-point record, everybody is going to be watching. He is 16 away from surpassing Ray Allen. Is that possible? Yeah. Is it likely? All right, not so much. But the other Splash brother, right, Klay Thompson, he holds the single game record of 14 made threes in a game. And these guys, they just go back and forth because then Steph broke that broke Steph's old record of 13. But if anyone can do it, if anyone can make 16 threes in a game, it's Steph. But if he's going to do it, he's going to need to shoot early, he's going to need to shoot often, and keep this in mind. The most threes he's ever attempted in a game is 22. Oh, to be at Chase Center. To be at Chase Center to watch the chase, that would be fun. But you know who is going to be at Chase Center? That is Miss Roz Gold-Onwude, who's going to be working the sidelines of tonight's potentially record-breaking game. Thank you so much for coming in, Roz. You spent some time with Steve Kerr earlier yesterday. How is he approaching coaching this potentially historical night?
Yeah, Malika, first of all, I think you're right. It says a lot about Stephen Curry that he's 16 threes away from breaking this record, and we're like, it probably could happen. Maybe. And so, you know, Steve Kerr yesterday at practice compared Steph to MJ in the sense that, you know, there's so many magical moments that they start to bleed together. And he said perhaps that's the true sign of greatness. And then he also talked about the pace in which Steph is approaching this record in the sense that he'll get there in just about 500 less games than it took Ray Allen to. And Steve said it says a lot about how much the game has changed and how much Stephen Curry has changed the game itself. Philosophically, coaching-wise, he gave credit to Mike D'Antoni and those Steve Nash sons as far as changing how we think about how many threes can be taken in a game. But as far as Stephen Curry as an individual, how we get to those three-point shots. What is a good shot?
Right.
What is not? He said Steph has changed that.
Well, and his teammates, right? I talked to Juan Toscano Anderson at a game the other week, and he's like, I was watching the great Warriors runs, and now I'm on the court with some of those great Warriors. So how are they thinking about Steph breaking this record?
Yeah, Juan is like you. He's from the Bay. He's from Oakland, you know? So he was talking about how when he was watching the Warriors then, he actually was salty when they traded Monte Ellis. And he said, you know, shout out to the decision makers who had that vision then. But now as a teammate of Steph's, he's actually, it's like a childlike curiosity. He's in awe. He's actually asked Steph, what are you looking at when you shoot? It brings out such innocent curiosity. And he actually laughed at himself. He said, I bet Steph thinks I ask him the most simple and dumb questions, but he genuinely wants to know, like, what is it like to be you?
Well, there you go. And I can relate to that, right, Roz? Because this is a special interview for me because, Roz, one of my very first job shadows ever was with you at a Warriors game, and I was one asking those questions. But, Roz, on the other side of the ball, right, Damian Lillard, he's out tonight with an abdominal injury, but he spoke at shoot-around. What did he say?
Yeah, I'm at Chase Center right now. The Trailblazers just finished shop. Damian Lillard addressed the media, and he addressed the trade rumors and all of the kind of noise around the Trailblazers head on. And he said, I'm not asking for a trade. He went on further to say, my intentions are to be in Portland and to figure this out. Ultimately, he feels like because the team is having a slow start, there's injuries, they're struggling a bit, taking a liberty to speak for him. And for him, he says, you know, the truth, the fact that I know it is what gives me peace. Speaking to Dame today, he said that, you know, he's in the office every day with Chauncey Billups, trying to find solutions. And he said, why would I be part of trying to find solutions if I'm planning an exit? So also in speaking with Chauncey Billups today and others around the organization, the relationship at this moment between Damian Lillard and Chauncey Billups is strong. And the two of them are working together to build a successful future together in Portland. And that's the feeling around this right now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Roz. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight. This is going to be fun. All right. I do want to break this down. Yes, ma'am.
I remember when you shadowed and you were there with Stephen Curry. I have that picture, and for the next year, I'm going to send it.
Don't you dare post that anyway.
By the way, Malika,
don't post that.
That's my Stanford sister, and I did the same thing in formation.
See? And Roz is that she is someone who walks the walks, talks the talk.
Yes.
But someone else who's been talking the talk, and there's a whole lot of walking and I don't even know what's what in this metaphor, is Damian Lillard. So what's your reaction, Richard, to what Dame said this morning at shoot-around?
Look, again, you said it yesterday how transparent Dame is. Dame is one of those very consistent superstars, and I believe him 100%. But just like anything, both sides have to meet in the middle. And I truly believe that right now, the Portland Trailblazers, based off of what Woj is reporting, they're kind of trying to make a decision. You got looking for a new president, GM. I know you have an interim one. But there are people that are having conversations looking at Dame as an asset. And the minute the relationship you are in are not looking at you in like, how can we all do this forward? But also like, what are the other options out there? What are the other moves that we can make? That to me says that like this is headed towards something that, you know, maybe Dame might not be ready. Dame might say, I don't want to leave. And the new GM comes and says like, hey, this is going to be the best thing for the organization moving forward.
Well, there's still time for this to play out. Just to remind everyone, right? We're not talking about this right now. No. Dame is under contract for 3 more seasons after this one. We're talking about adding a 2-year extension on top of that, which he could have offered to him as soon as this summer. Chene, how do you react to this? You know Dame incredibly well.
Yeah, you know, I know Dame through the Team Adidas family, and he's been one of the greatest people, just not through knowing him in basketball, just period. And I think his life has really come to the point where the only thing he really needs is a championship and probably MVP. And if you can't provide an environment for that, it's either going to be forced upon him, right? Like you said, if there is a change or so, or like the pressures of, you know, being in your prime, 31 years old, like this is the time for Dame to really showcase his skills. And I'm sort of glad that he's had time to sort of step back because this guy has put in his work in the league. I keep bringing it up. He leads like the last 5 or 6 years in miles run in the NBA. He's always performed. A lot of people were critical of his performance at the start of this year. I was like, can this man breathe for a moment? Like it's not even forcing the issue in the middle of the season. So I was like, just let's chill a little bit. But the reality is I think in the next year or two, if you don't have something viable, something has to be viable presented to him because his talent deserves a top-tier team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Even when I was in New Jersey with Jason Kidd, one of the things that led to his trade to Dallas is that the Nets didn't want to give him an extension. And this is the historic guy, name in the rafter. He was like, I want a 2-year extension. They were like, well, we're not sure the direction we want to go. If they're not just going to give Dame that 2 years, and I know it's 35, 36, but a lot of times you're giving that 35, 36 because you want what this individual can do for you now. If they're not saying, Dame, you are not leaving, we're going to pay you your money and you are going to be the pillar until you retire, then Dame has to take a step back.
And all athletes will take notice of that because this guy has been loyal to the soil in the community, both on and off the court. And so then if that is the case, then you know that it is truly a business, and don't be surprised when players make their own moves.
Well, we're going to see how this shakes out. That's going to be a decision that the new general manager, we know they have an interim general manager, is going to need to make. That interim general manager, Joe Cronin, is going to speak tomorrow to reporters for the first time. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, not on the court tonight against the Warriors, but Steph Curry will be. And if you think we're this morning, before Richard got here, because Richard was late, but if you need a shot to win, if you need to win, Luka, KD, who's taking it?
KD.
Yeah, Kevin Durant.
It was a unanimous decision.
Unanimous.
It was a unanimous decision.
But if it's from the left wing, I'm giving Luka. Give it to
okay, that's hyper-specific, but it's a good thing we saw both of these guys in action last night, Richard.
Look, Kevin Durant was doing what Kevin Durant wants. And look, we jumped to the fourth mainly because of this. We jumped to the fourth because the Dallas Mavericks were up like 17. And then, look, now it becomes a battle of who can just lead their team to where they need to get.
Love this.
When Luka does that, Kevin Durant does
this. It's back and forth. And look, the Brooklyn Nets, they've been figuring things out. And look, James Harden is starting to get going. You can't, and Luka's looking around like, hey, you can't leave anybody open. I'm sorry, there's no help. But here, this final play, Luka gets the step back that he wants. You know, look, Nick Claxton, great defense.
But there's the problem. Who do you leave wide open at the top of the
they're going to keep floating around. And look, James Harden's kind of slacking, but right here, Tim Hardaway Jr. with the pump fake.
And that's a shot he can make, but
no, not enough.
Too little, too late. And here's Kevin Durant, who played a heavy minutes load last night after the game.
We had 2 days in between, like, the last couple of games, you know what I'm saying? So I've been sitting at home a lot, to be honest, you know. So when I get a chance to play, you know, we didn't have a shoot around this morning, you know, because it was an early game. So when I get a chance to play, yes. I mean, I know people may be concerned about my minutes and I got injured before and all this extra, but we'll figure that out if I get there. Right now, I want to play basketball. I might play 48 tomorrow. Just because. Give me something to talk about.
Oh, there's a song here about let's give me some. I won't. I'm not going to do it, but we're talking about it, Kevin. I appreciate you giving us something to talk about. So, see, Janae's picking up what I'm throwing down. Durant is averaging 36.2 minutes per game. That's the most he's played since 2013-2014. He was 25 years old at the time. But then the team announced this morning, after he said he'd play 48 minutes, after playing 41 last night, he's resting. So is LaMarcus Aldridge. But big picture, Chene, is this something to worry about?
I'm not worried about it because this is a guy that's on a roll. And I know we are careful, especially with his return back from injury, you know, after a year or season off. But the reality is here is KD, I mean, he's a hooper's hooper. And what I mean by that is he just loves to play basketball. And if he's good, let him play. He is leading the NBA in points per game around like 29. They're #1 currently, the Brooklyn Nets in the East. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I have no problems with him playing minutes, but I do like them resting him time to time, you know?
Okay, so a lot of people want to talk about what? Let's talk about why. Let's talk about why. Why is he playing so many minutes? The reason why he's playing so many minutes is that there are portions in these games where their defense is not up to par. Now, I know they're high on the defensive vision, but look at this. You get a layup right there, and then watch this. The ball just comes down, and then you give up a layup. And then look, in the paint, you get a shot. Look, ball's taken out underneath the basket.
Guys on the floor.
Underneath the basket. And let's see what type of play they get. Just layup.
Ooh,
now, to me, this is the thing. This is the difference between going into the fourth quarter up by 14 and going into the fourth quarter up by 6. Those are things that you can actually control over the course of a basketball game. So to me, when you're looking at Kevin Durant playing too many minutes, yes, they're defensive numbers, but there are multiple possessions, especially early in the game, that if they were just more solid and playing consistent defense, that's how you get your numbers from 41 down to 37.
Right, and this isn't, to me, this isn't new, right? I was having a deja vu. We had this discussion last season. I remember asking Steve Nash game after game after game, are you concerned about the minutes? Are you concerned about the minutes? The minutes piling up. And he said, yeah, but what other choice do I have? Because I take Kevin Durant out of the game. Remember, James Harden was racking up minutes. I take him out of the game, and then look what happens out on the floor. This is the man who played a full 48 minutes. Yes, it was in the playoffs. Yes, it was in a pivotal Game 5. Yes, he had 49 points. But Hooper's Hooper, you kind of just got to let him figure it out. But on the flip side, Luka Doncic admitted that he needs to step up his conditioning a little bit, saying that over the summer he was a little bit relaxed and that it was maybe too much, and I've got to get back on track. So how much of a concern is that, Richard, for Dallas?
It's a concern in this moment, but let's talk about big picture. There are great players, and then there are elite. You have never, let's go down the line and look at great players over the course of basketball history. Oh, well. You have never questioned LeBron James' conditioning. You have never questioned Giannis's conditioning. You have never questioned Kevin Durant's conditioning. So when we're looking at great players, now then we start to wonder, okay, is he going to fall on the line of James Harden in that boat? Even Luka Doncic a little bit, or not Luka Doncic, Jokic, when he wasn't in great shape, but then he got in great shape, MVP. So to
Remember
me,
that? The photos
yeah,
floating around
I'm just saying, to me, Luka has to make a decision. Are you going to be a very good player, or are you going to be an elite player? And that starts with off-season conditioning.
I think the one asterisk is that we're coming off of an abbreviated Olympic season in which he put the whole country of Slovenia on his back. And he alluded to that. Like, you know, it was a shorter off-season for me, and he wanted to rest. He's 22 years old. We know he will make that decision in due time. At this point, you know, his usage is still up. His efficiency is not nearly as great, you know, to previous seasons. But the reality is this guy's still producing. I mean, what did he have yesterday? 28 and 6 and 9. And so, yes, there's room for improvement. I think he's one of the most competitive players in basketball. The maturity factor of realizing, because I'm not old, but you old, but like you get to a point when you're like 25, 26, 27, you're like, I have to rely on my conditioning to give me that edge. Some people learn it earlier,
that
baby face killer.
You don't do that, people. Kids, don't watch this, kids. Do not watch this.
Well, you have to remember that in 2015, too, in Oracle Arena, when LA used to come up, right? Guys, people would get off for these games.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
coming off when the LA teams would just stomp on them. Yes. This was really, everyone was Steve Kerr.
The best is Steve Kerr and even Alvin Gentry's reaction. Alvin Gentry sitting on the bench like, I can't coach that. I can't coach that. I'm glad he's on my team.
Well, there's also nothing else you can do about this. Steph Curry against the Grizzlies.
Oh my gosh. No dribble, y'all. Just like catch and shoot.
But look where this took off from.
Yeah. Oh, we're very. Well, see, this is my thing. Everybody, players, all have hit half-court shots. Okay. No one does 12 of them a season.
Okay, thank you. That was
but the other
12 a season.
This isn't just half-court. It's 62 feet.
Yeah.
And it's inside the other three-point line.
It's his range. It's his range. That's his range.
For this one, I just have to let Mike Breen take it away because no one can do better than him.
Drive falling away.
Don't do
Won't go. Rebound taken away.
Don't do Mike Breen.
Okay, you're right.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it.
Tees it up.
Way downtown. Bang! Bang!
A double bang.
Shot from Curry with 0.6 of a second remaining.
Killer.
Man, that's about 35 feet out, well beyond the 28-foot mark.
Look at his face.
Now with 0.6 of a second remaiing.
You know what I love about Steph? A lot of people want to flex and, you know, do all this stuff after his shots. He's like, no, I'm just going to, like, take your joy away. Like, that's what he does.
I'm going to snatch your joy. Well, you know who else's joy he snatched?
Who?
The Pelicans.
The Pelicans? Oh. Yeah. Is this one going to give us a double bang, a double Mike Breen bang?
This is when he set the three-point record initially, and then obviously Clay went on to say, that walk was cute, but I got 14.
Yeah, we forget, and we'll be quickly reminded that he will be even harder to guard, Steph Curry, once Klay Thompson is back. And
absolutely.
Look, the league is scared right now. There's a reason why you hear about all these trades for big teams and people making moves, because they know what's coming.
Well, and all the reports are that Klay Thompson looks excellent.
Yeah, go Klay.
So we have to end with this year.
What's this year?
Earlier this year, technically still counts.
Oh my gosh, and bumped in the back.
Not the season, but earlier this year. Can you imagine? Look, he like slid like a little penguin afterwards. Can you imagine if there were fans in the stands for this shot?
Oh yeah, and then look at this. This is what they call the Curry scurry. Once he get up and he starts running like that, yeah, that's a Curry scurry.
Take flight.
Yeah, take flight. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can do to guard this man. You just have to hope and pray and try and outscore
my coach, Hall of Famer Tara Vanderveer, used to talk about prayer defense, pray they miss.
Yeah, pray they miss.
That's it.
Yeah, because you can't contest, you'll just foul him.
Look at this. This is pure joy.
Brothers.
Yes, brothers. Love it. It's all good. You know where else it's all good? It's all good in Milwaukee.
True.
Because they are rolling right now. So the Bucks' big three, what's the key to their success? Coming up next.
Who's going to tell us?
NBA tonight on the sidelines, Monica McNutt. She's going to be courtside for the Bucks Heat tonight. So the Bucks, they have been almost unbeatable for the past 3 weeks. So what's changed for them after this slow start?
Well, Malika, you have to acknowledge that this team had to get healthy. They had a bunch of guys in protocols and so on at the beginning of the season. But also, two guys that have caught my eyes in terms of career high productions are not in that big three. And I'm talking about Grayson Allen and Bobby Portis, who are guys that have come in and really kind of surprised in their role, particularly Grayson Allen. When you talk about someone that's shooting better than 42% from behind the arc, he's shown his ability to be a terrific defender. And when I had a chance to talk with him today at shoot-around, he said, you know, he didn't really come in with a bunch of pressure and expectations, even though he was joining the defending champs. But the system really plays well to what he's been able to do in terms of defending and catch and shoot. And of course, Bobby Portis, he just credits it to finally being able to be in a place consecutive years. He talked about bouncing around early in his career, but now he says he knows these guys. And he's like, it's hard to play with guys you don't know. That's not the case anymore for the underdog property owner.
Well, Bobby loves Milwaukee, and Milwaukee loves Bobby Portis. He says he sees his work ethic reflected in the city. Yeah, the Bobby.
Exactly.
Nice catch, right?
Exactly.
So the Heat, they're depleted, right? No Jimmy, no Bam tonight. They lost to the Bucks by 22 last weekend, and Giannis didn't even play in that game. So how are they looking at this game tonight?
Well, Heat culture is real, and they are not making any excuses. In fact, PJ Tucker said, you know, you can look at injuries as the negative. Obviously, you hate to see guys get hurt. But he also said it's an opportunity for other guys to step in. He's like, so much of NBA careers and the length of one's career is your ability to adapt and adjust. I was digging into the numbers, guys, trying to find some commonalities in terms of who's been able to step up in the 7 games in particular that Jimmy has missed. Kyle Lowry kind of emerges as kind of the leading scorer when he's out. But you look at a guy like Max Strus, whose production almost doubles from 5 points to 11 points in those 7 games. And so certainly it's going to be a team effort in replacing Bam and Jimmy Butler at this point. But they're not making any excuses, and they certainly plan to defend home court tonight.
Well, and you know that PJ Tucker, going against his former teammates that he won a championship with, he is going to come out with a fire. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate you stopping by. Hey, Richard, I don't even know if you're good?
Oh, I'm ready. Well, I'm ready.
Tell me about the Bucks.
What can I tell you about the Bucks? It is funny you should ask because, ladies and gentlemen, this is Don't Stat Me. I need you up. Let the chair go. Look, everyone is focused on the Warriors and the Suns as the best team in the league, and rightfully so. But one team we are sleeping on is the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. Look, when their big three is in the lineup, guess what their number is?
11-0?
Yeah, 11-0. This woman does her homework, but there is more to this than just their record. And that's what we do here on Don't Stat Me. This is why this is the best segment in sports television. Look,
minus Shishi.
Their win-loss record since November 17th. And look, the reason why we focus on this is because this is when the big three finally got together and started playing games. Now, what do we have next for them, ladies and gentlemen? Their rebounds per game, they are first. Again, we're talking about defending champions. And my best Vanna White impression, what is next? Opponent's points in the paint first. Now, this looks like a team that could go back-to-back championships. Defensive efficiency, second. So, look, they're slacking there. They got to get better. Pick it up. What are we thinking here? And then lastly, pace.
Oh, I love that.
Third, when you are winning, when you are rebounding, when you are keeping the opponents out of your paint, when you're defensively efficient and your pace is good, you want to get an example? You guys want to see some examples?
I want to see something.
Let me give you some examples, Shanae. This is what they do. They protect the paint. 3 people in the paint. And how do they clean up the paint? They get a rebound.
Team rebound.
Team rebound. And then what do they do, Shanae? Just
easy buckets in transition.
Easy buckets. The game is not very hard. Again, look at this. Protect the paint. Giannis in there, Defensive Player of the Year. Gang rebound. Grayson Allen getting out in transition. This has been a simple transition for him. Lefty dunk.
Attack when the defense is not set up.
Lefty dunk. And again, the Cavaliers, a very good young team. People should keep their eyes on them. But this is Giannis. This is what Giannis does. In transition,
that's the next growth level in his game, why he's a superstar, because he's learning how to distribute.
No, and we're talking about as a center, he's grabbing the rebound, contesting shots, getting out in transition, and then dropping a dime to the corner.
You're watching NBA today, but tonight you should be watching Steph Curry. And I have FOMO, but our friend, the undefeated's Mark Spears, will not, because he's going to be there and watch, because Steph Curry is just 16 threes away from setting the all-time record. So, Mark, what's Steph's mentality heading into this game against the Trailblazers tonight?
Well, remember when Kevin Garnett said, anything is possible? Right? I was actually behind him. Steph said that 2 days ago. Anything is possible tonight. I tend to doubt it even for the great Steph Curry. He needs 16 threes to beat Ray Allen. In doing so, if he did that tonight against the Blazers, he would also be beating Klay Thompson's record of 14 in NBA history in a game. So there'd be a double historic night on Star Wars night here at Chase Center. The Blazers are also undermanned. Their starting backcourt is out. And so that means that the Warriors would probably blow the Blazers out. And if you're blowing a team out, you're not going to have Steph in the fourth quarter like Kobe was in when he had his big scoring game. So I don't think anything is possible tonight for Steph Curry, because I don't think the opportunity will be there because of the opponent.
Well, I really appreciated your impression there. We'll see if Steph and the Empire can strike back on Star Wars night. But if Steph doesn't break the record tonight, what's the significance of him potentially breaking the three-point record? I'm looking at the schedule on Saturday in Philadelphia on ABC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not going to be here at Chase, the next best thing could be Saturday against the Philadelphia 76ers. Got to remember, his brother Seth, they're as close as can be. He plays for Philadelphia. His dad, Del Curry, is expected to be at the game. He's a color analyst for the Hornets. He will not have a game that night. But I'm wondering, too, if it continues further, Del really wants to be there from what I've been told, and I think he would follow the Warriors around. Ray Allen is not expected to be in the building. His son is got a high school game, and Ray is actually coaching his high school team in Miami. But Ray won't be here tonight. But I'm hearing potentially, if it goes further, goes to Indiana, goes to New York, going into next week, maybe there will be a Ray Allen sighting, which would be great, because when Ray Allen broke Reggie Miller's record, Reggie